Hello guys, welcome to the new series in the chess strategy. The new series is called the initiative, and I'll tell you first what the initiative is. And finishing development is a prerequisite for going for the initiative, or at the very least, better development than your opponent. Playing actively is not the same as having the initiative. It is just a prelude to seizing the initiative. The initiative not uh, synonymous to an attack either. It simply means that we lead the play and the opponent must take care of our activities and threats. Generally speaking, development leads to the initiative and the initiative leads to an attack. Throughout this process, it is of the utmost importance to be aware of the opponent's counter chances. When dealing with the initiative, psychology has a greater influence than usual. It is very important to intuitively feel the moment for attack or counterattack and manage to predict the opponent's reaction. Practice serves an important role in learning to manage the initiative, along with analyzing games of great legends of past such as Alekhine, Thal, and Fischer. So let's see the first game, and here the first game is played between uh, Kachev and Mikhailovsky in Ohrid 2001, and the game goes c4, c5, g3, knight f6, bishop g2, d5, cd5, knight takes d5, knight c3, knight c7. Now queen a4 check. And here instead of queen a4, knight f3 and knight c6 would lead to a typical Rubinstein variation. White wants to benefit from the light square diagonal before the g1 knight closes it. And now queen to d7. Here instead bishop to d7, queen b3, then knight to c6, then queen takes b7, knight to d4 leads to a sharp and double-edged position. Black plays queen d7, now knight f3. White wants to exploit the fact that the black queen blocks her other pieces and to prepare the move d4. It looks like White will develop his troops more rapidly, so it is natural to open the position. Here queen takes d7, knight takes d7, knight f3, and e5 is primitive and not that aggressive. So after knight f3, queen takes a4, and this move liberates the queen side pieces but accelerates White's initiative in the center. As a result, Black will suffer right until the end of the game. Here knight c6 and short castles, and e5 is more normal, although both queens are developed on strained squares. Here after knight takes a4, then knight d7. Knight d7. Here instead an attempt to improve on knight e6, b3, now knight c6, bishop to a3, and knight b4, king d1. This odd move is very strong, and knight here the knight takes c5 is the immediate threat, and if and a5 and knight to b6, rook b8, knight takes c8, rook takes c8, knight e5, rook b8, knight c4 with a much better position for white. So black played here knight d7, then d4 by white. This is simple and strong. White exploits the pressure on b7 and fights for the initiative. Also, very soon it will become clear that white will be the first to control the open files. In open positions, rooks on open files supported by a fianchetted bishop can be devastatingly strong. Actually, all the white pieces will soon be better placed than black's. Black is in big trouble after only 9 moves, without making even one obvious mistake. That is the beauty of chess, the relativity of principles. Now c takes d4, knight takes d4 and e5. So what else? Black wants to gain a tempo to finish development as soon as possible. Now knight b3, bishop b4 check, bishop d2, bishop takes d2 and king takes d2. This is the fastest way to finish development. Activating the rooks when seeking for the initiative, every tempo is important. Now knight b6. This brave move could lead to the damaging of the pawn structure, but the open a file would compensate for that. The idea is to reduce the pressure by exchanging one of the white's menacing knights. But black missed a dangerous response, after which white increases his advantage. Here white goes rook hc1, and here black instead could have played castles was better, although white's advantage remains undisputed. After the same rook hc1 and after knight e6 and knight ac5, here king to e7, it's a little improvement on black's play, yet still the same rook hc1, knight e6, knight to a5, a5 or knight c3, both are good. After knight a5, rook b8, knight c3, white kept a stable advantage here. So after knight b6, rook hc1, knight rook hc1, knight e6 and knight ac5 and rook b8, knight a5. Excellent, forcing black to take first, accelerating white's development. This stage of the game is very instructive, even for advanced players. Knight takes c5, rook takes c5, f6 and rook ac1. White has completed development, becoming the master of the queen side. Black is hopeless. Everything is going smoothly and white would convert his big advantage. Now castles, rook c7. The b7 pawn is lost. Bishop e6, b3. a great but simple move. The pawn restricts the activity of black's minor pieces. Rook f d8, check and king e1. Now bishop d5, bishop takes d5, knight takes d5, rook takes b7, rook takes b7 and knight takes b7. Now rook d7. After some exchanges, the situation is stable. White has a winning position, an extra pawn, a big positional advantage, and the white pieces are more active. White fully activates his rook. Now rook c8 check, king f7, knight c5, knight b6, rook c6, rook e7, e4. An excellent decision. Once again we see the do not rush principle in action. Black's knight is out of play and the e5 pawn is blocked. Black's rook remains passive. Here knight d7, then knight b7. Now is the moment to remember Tartakower's quote, all rook endgames are drawish. Indeed, why exchange an active knight for a passive one? Now knight f8, knight d6, king g6, knight c8, rook e8. If at all rook d7, then rook a6 is coming. So after knight takes a7, after some fine maneuvering, white has collected another pawn. There are still some technical issues which were perfectly solved by the white player. Now rook a8, rook a6, knight e6, rook a5. b4 was also natural here and perhaps even better. Choosing a plan and the move order is a matter of style. Now knight g5, knight c6. White returns the pawn, but the game is simplified. The win is trivial. Rook takes, knight takes and knight takes e4. Now knight c4, king f5 and f3, knight c3, a4, king e6. Now king d2, knight a2, knight b2. Now king d5, knight to d3. Black's knight is trapped. White calculated perfectly to the end. Now king d4, a5, knight c3, knight c5, knight b1 check and king c1, knight c3, knight e6 check, king e3, knight c7, knight e2, king b2, knight d4, a6, knight c6, b4. Here black resigned. After doing his best to postpone defeat, black finally resigned. Indeed, that was an amazing game. Unfortunately, it did not find its place in many books. The opponent, after being shocked by White's sixth move, started spending too much time and finally, after a long resistance, could not keep his position together. That is another thing worth remembering. Also analyze games that are not frequently published. This will lead you to some easy victories in the future. So thank you all guys. I hope you would have enjoyed the game. I'll be meeting you in the next game. Thank you all.